Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, which is a tag that has been floating around on BookTube for quite a number of years at this point. I think typically most people do this around June or July, and it is August, so I'm a little bit late on the jump, but I wanted to do it anyway, so I'm going to. I'm gonna leave all the questions for this tag in the description box below because I personally couldn't really find a good place to get all these questions, so I'll leave them for you in the description box if you are a booktuber and you want to do this tag as well. The first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2022? For this question, I'm gonna go with a book that I just finished literally last night and I loved so much, and that was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book is a cozy, low-stakes kind of fantasy, and it follows an orc named Viv who has lived a very adventurous fighting type of lifestyle for a number of years, and she decides that she wants to give up that lifestyle and start her own coffee shop. Throughout this book, we're just following Viv as she's beginning this new chapter of her life and starting this coffee shop, and as she is attracting a very lovable, loyal group of characters to her. It was so sweet and wholesome, and I really loved reading something so low stakes and just comforting. So I think that's my favorite book so far this year. Question number 2 is, what is the best sequel you've read so far in 2022? I've only read one sequel this year. I'm not a big series person. I mostly read standalone novels. And so the best and only sequel I've read so far this year is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is the second book in the Monk and Robot series that she's been writing, and it's kind of similar to the last book I mentioned in that it's a very low stakes, almost utopian type of sci-fi novel. Throughout this book, we are following a non-binary monk named Sibling Dex and a robot named Mosscap, as Sibling Dex is kind of being a tour guide to Mosscap, showing them around our world, introducing them to humankind. Even if this book had not been the only sequel I'd read this year, it still would have been a solid book. Question number 3 is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? For this one, I'm gonna go with one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I bring up Silvia Moreno Garcia so frequently, I feel like in almost every video, but I read her book Mexican Gothic last year. I really loved it. It sticks in my mind. I think about it often, and I'm really excited to read another book by her and kind of establish her as possibly a new favorite author. And The Daughter of Dr. Moreau in particular looks really good, and I'm really excited to read it. The sun is going away. That's really sad. Question number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I had a little bit of a hard time picking this one because I have so many books that I'm interested in that are coming out towards the end of the year, but I ended up going with The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This one follows a girl who's investigating a cult that she escaped when she was a college student, and also she teams up with the host of a true crime podcast to investigate this cult, and it just sounds so interesting. I love a good cult story, and so I'm really interested to read this one. I think this one is coming out later this month, so not too long of a wait. Question number 5 is, what was your most disappointing book so far? For this one, I'm gonna have to go with The Majesties by Tiffany Sao. It had such a promising beginning and a promising synopsis, but it ended up falling so flat, and the ending ended up wrecking everything good that this book brought to the table for me. So that one in particular was absolutely devastating because it was still kind of a 3-star read right up until I read the ending. Question number 6 is, what was your most surprising book so far? For this one, I'm gonna go with All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Cleffoth. This book was pretty surprising to me. I heard about it first on Books and Lala's channel, and I do trust her judgment, so I shouldn't have been that surprised. But it was from kind of an older thriller recommendations video of hers, and I know her tastes have changed a lot over time, so I kind of went in with low expectations, thinking that being like a YA book, this wouldn't really be that great of a thriller with not a lot of good plot twists. But this book ended up surprising me a lot. It deals a lot with secret societies and a girl who's trying to solve her mother's disappearance, and I actually really enjoyed it, and I feel like this book packed in so many interesting different elements. And yeah, it was quite a surprisingly good book. I gave it 5 stars and I really enjoyed it. So if you like a kind of preppy thriller, a thriller set at a boarding school, academic thriller, that type of vibe, I think you would really like this. Question number 7 is, who is your favorite new author, debut, or new to you? For this one, I'm going to go with a new to me author who I just read my first book from this year, and that is Tiffany D. Jackson. She is an amazing author. She is well established. Everybody loves Tiffany D. Jackson, so this should come as no surprise, but I read her book Grown this year, and that was my first time reading any of her books, and I loved it so much, and I can't wait to read her other books. She has another book coming out in, I think, October. I'm really excited for that one. It kind of sounds like a bit of a Carrie retelling. Question number 8 is, who is your new fictional crush? I don't really read books from this perspective anymore. Maybe it's because of the type of books I read, or maybe it's because I'm married, but I don't really have anyone that I could point to as being like, I don't know. I think it's the type of books I read, to be honest. I don't read any romances, so nobody I'm like trying to swoon over. But yeah, no fictional crushes for me this year. Question number 9 is, who is your new favorite character? For this one, I have 2 different answers. The first one is Moscap from the Monk and Robot series. I find Moscap to be a very interesting character because they are experiencing the human world for the first time and trying to navigate social cues, and they have a very like childish curiosity and wonderment about the world, but at the same time they're very intelligent, they love to read, and I enjoyed that aspect of their personality as well. So Moscap is number 1, and the second character is Nimona from the graphic novel Nimona. This book was so genuinely funny and made me laugh out loud more than a book has in quite some time. But Nimona is a really entertaining character. She has a deep backstory that was really interesting to explore, but she's also trying to become a villain's sidekick while being more nefarious than the villain is himself. So it was a really interesting dynamic to see the villain always like try and rein in his sidekick from going too extreme with their villainous plans. So this book was so genuinely funny, made me laugh out loud so many times throughout it, and I really recommend. Question number 10 is, what book made you cry? I really do not cry very much, especially not at like sad books or movies. It's really rare for me to cry. So instead of saying what book I cried at, I'm gonna tell you what the saddest book I read was this year, and that would definitely be I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. This book follows a character living in Romania in the 1980s during the communist regime, and it follows our main character Christian as he is being recruited by the secret police to do some spying on an American that his mother cleans houses for. It's a very devastating look into this time in history, and it really showcases a lot of emotional distress that our main character is under, having to do the things that he's being asked to do while also trying to protect his family. Ruta Sepetys is an amazing author. She always chooses these times in history that are very undercovered, and she always approaches her topics with a high amount of research and a lot of respect and looks at them through a very honest lens. So I think that she's the best historical fiction author that I've ever read. Question number 11 is, what is one book that made you happy this year? I don't want to keep answering the same answers for every question because there's not even that many questions to begin with. So Really, any of the books I've already mentioned have made me happy because reading a good book just makes me happy. But for this one, I'm gonna go with Once Upon an Eid. This one is written by a lot of different authors, but it's edited by S.K. Ali and Aisha Saeed. It's a middle grade book, and it is an anthology that follows a lot of children around the time of Ramadan and Eid as they are engaging in their celebrations and spending time with their families and learning some lessons and trying some new things. Reading about characters from other cultures and religions is something that makes me happy, and you're literally reading about them celebrating their favorite holiday, so how could that not make you happy, right? This was also my third time reading this book. I read it every year during Ramadan, so clearly it's a favorite if I keep coming back to it. Question number 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you have bought or received this year? I brought it with me. That would have to be A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Lin. Look how beautiful this cover is. And question number 13, the final question of this tag. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have a lot of books that I want to read this year, but most especially, I really need to get to all of my 5-star predictions for the year because I really want to film a video at the end of the year updating you on if I was right or not. And so far, I have only read one of those books. So I have 11 more books to read. If you want to know what those books are exactly, you can go watch my 5-star predictions video. I'll tag it in the eye and you can go watch that after this. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you've already wasted 20 minutes. You might as well like this video, comment, share, subscribe perhaps, and I will see you next week in a new video. Goodbye.